All right, so Tesla just released a brand new video with a bunch of new information. Let me show you some of the frames from the video. This is in actual speed, and I have a slowed down version that really highlights all the new information we got from this. So just in those few frames, you saw a bunch of new images come up that if you follow Tesla closely, you're probably like, huh, what the hell is that? And so here's a version of this video with just the frames that I found to be new, that I've never seen before related to Tesla. And we'll start with this one. So this one's very, very unique because it looks like a car that Tesla has never released before. If you look at the front of the Model S, the Model X, the Cybertruck, the 3 and the Y, there's nothing really out there that looks anything like this, the rear or the front or the side. So this looks like a brand new vehicle. Now, what's super interesting about this one is if we look at, say, this image here, and I'll pull it up here. So this is a image from the Walter Isaacson book, the biography of Elon Musk that came out last year. And there was a chapter about Robotaxi, so the self-driving platform. It's not exact, okay, but there are some sort of vibes that I'm getting from this still here that kind of remind me of this. And it's mostly back here. You kind of see the square shaped thing here, the black thing here, and so there's whitish color. Of course, this is black and white. But I think from this still, we can kind of get confirmation that this newer car, whatever it is, likely is going to have this sort of vibe to it, this sort of look to it. So these like square, sort of cyber style, things that it's got going on. One of the clues that we got in the book, in the Walter Isaacson book, is that this new vehicle, this Robotaxi, would have a cyber style to it, very similar to the Cybercab or to the Cybertruck rather. And these angles kind of, I think, speak to that a little bit. It could also be the front. It could also be the front where they've redesigned it from a picture to an actual physical version of the prototype. But that's what I get from this image. I get this. It looks like to me something to do with this thing, which is a two-seater, purely self-driving vehicle where none of us are going to have to use steer wheel and pedals. It won't even have it. And in the interior, we'll also get a lot of clues from that video as well, because there's a bunch of new images, which I'll share as we go through. Now, if we move forward a little bit, and I'll speed the sucker up a little bit, then we get this image, which is, we saw a sneak peek of it on Tesla's first quarter earnings report, which looks like a mock-up or an actual version of the iPhone or Android app that Tesla's going to use for hailing a self-driving car. So you can see here is the map going to Stanford Shopping Center, I'm guessing somewhere in California, with the estimated time of arrival, perhaps of the car coming to you, how long it's going to take, how far away it is, the climate inside of the car, which I'm sure you can change with the phone, the volume, the radio volume, I'm assuming 3 out of 10. And then you can see also here the seat setting for cooled or heated seats. Now, what's very interesting about this one is I'm quite confident that none of the current Tesla models have heated and cool seats in the back of the vehicle, which that implies that this thing here probably relates to this vehicle, where it's going to have both seats are going to be heated and cooled. So that's a cool little thing there. And there's a lot more about this app that I'm going to show you in a little bit. But very interesting thing. We haven't seen that before, I don't believe. So that was really cool to see. Then there's this frame here. What I'm guessing is a Tesla engineer and Franz von Holzhausen, who's the lead designer of Tesla, designs the cars and stuff. Congrats for being married. We can see the ring there too. But this to me looks like very obviously the interior of this compact car. So we kind of saw the images here as a two-seater. You can kind of see there's 2 seats there, and I have them blown up here as well. So this is sort of a zoom in of that. Let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. So here's the 2 seats. Obviously, it just looks like 2 seats. There's nothing behind it. There's a screen here, and then it looks like there's no steering wheel, pedals, or nothing. It just looks like a place for people to just sit down and get driven around. There's also another shot right next to that one as well. So there's this guy here, which I'll zoom into, is this one. And then you can kind of see it's the same exact shot, but then there is this sort of, arm holder sort of that comes down this armrest that comes down between the 2 seats. So you can obviously see here that armrest is this thing. So you're going to be able to bring this down, and it's going to be a 2-seater. You're going to have a screen in the middle. Now, what's very interesting about this is that there's been a lot of rumors and sort of hypotheses hypothesizing, if that's even a word, of how many people this cyber cab or robotaxi is going to be able to fit. And I think as we're getting closer and closer to the event, it's becoming quite obvious that this cyber cab, this robotaxi thing, whatever this is, whatever they want to call it, is going to be a two-seater. And two-seater implies that Tesla thinks most of the traffic they're going to get for the cyber cab is going to be single or dual people, like two people that are driving in the car. And if you look at a lot of the statistics and data out there related to people going from point A to point B, at least in the United States, one of the biggest things that's obvious is that most people either ride alone or they ride with one other person. A lot of the traffic is not three or more people. So things like public transportation and things like that are not very common in the United States. And I'm going to guess Tesla's going to really gear this product, this robotaxi product, to that type of clientele. But what makes it even more interesting is if you really think about the economics of a robotaxi or a self-driving vehicle, it becomes extremely cheap to run something like this because the electricity cost for running from point A to point B for something this small is going to be extremely low. We already have data from Consumer Reports that shows that running a Tesla is going to be extremely cheap. And then if it's self-driving, you remove the largest piece of the cost from a self-driving vehicle. So then just hailing something that is going to carry just you is going to be a lot cheaper than it usually is, which means that the demand for a single use or a dual, a two person in the vehicle use case, the demand for that's going to skyrocket because it's going to become extremely affordable for you to take a robotaxi versus, say, riding a bus. So if the economics get it to where a cyber cab is cheaper than a bus, what would you do? Walk to the bus station and wait for the bus station and hang out on the bus until you get to your destination, which might take you 5 times longer than hailing a robotaxi to pick you up for the same exact cost, and you have full privacy, right? Why would people not choose this? And you have an armrest and a TV and a sound system and heated and cool seats, as we saw, right? So it's like you get heated and cool seats. So it becomes quite obvious now that it's becoming really, really obvious to me that Tesla is really banking on a two-seater solution being a cyber cab. That they believe most people are just going to hail this by themselves or with another person. And I think that's very smart, in my opinion. Now, the next frame, we get this thing here with a summon button, which is quite obviously somebody summoning the cybercab from an app, and it says Tesla up here, so I'm going to guess it's the Tesla app, probably not Uber, and I have some thoughts about that too. People think this is going to be like an Uber partnership. I really think it'd be silly for Tesla to go with Uber in this scenario, which I don't know what that means for Uber, but we can save that for another video. But you can see the summon button, they hold it, and then it does cool animations. And then the next frame, it jumps to a bunch of other things that we've already seen before. But then it says, okay, summon, I found you a car. Then it says pick up, and then it brings up this UI. Very good. But what's interesting about this one is that this is very obviously not a cyber cab. That looks like a Model Y to me. And then you only have 2 options. You only have an option to set the climate, and it tells you what the capacity of the Model Y is, 1 out of 4, which means that most likely the driver's seat is not going to be available for somebody, which obviously would not be this, because this only has a capacity of 2. So by default, this means that Tesla thinks they're going to have the existing fleet of Model 3s and Ys and S's and X's on the Robotaxi network is what they're alluding to with this frame. And it's also missing a lot of the other settings from this app, right? It's missing the climate control, the volume control. The volume control, the seat heated or cool control. But again, it could just be a mock-up, right? It could just be a mock-up of the existing fleet operating on it. Then here's some stills of the interior of the Robotaxi, of this thing again that we were looking at. So you can very clearly see, I mean, this is about as obvious as day, right? You can kind of see this shape here, kind of see the interior, 2 seats. You got this sort of shape over here. You got the slope over here. And to me, it looks very, very similar, right? You got that cutout there. Kind of see it there, right? There's the cutout. So very obviously, this looks like an interior shot of this, which to me alludes to maybe this is maybe this is a lot more finalized than we think. Maybe this is really what we're going to see on 8.8 or something very, very similar to that. So here's an interior shot of it with the seats and a bunch of stuff on the walls here, some measurements. Somebody on X actually zoomed in on this, Mark, I believe. Yeah, Mark at Coding Mark. Thank you for doing that. They zoomed in on this image on the wall here of this, and it says NV93, and NV93 flies in city number 3 an airport aviation facility located in Sandy Valley, Nevada. But it's also worth mentioning that some of the code names out there for this program on the internet, people were saying it's called NV9, which is this sort of robotaxi car, cheaper car that was canceled. That again, I will say, if it was canceled, why is Tesla including this on a video? So I don't know. The misdirection, who knows? I don't have a crystal ball. I highly doubt it. But anyway, and so we get a shot there too. So we see the 2 seats there. We can see that there's a bunch of leg room. This shape right here looks extremely similar to what we saw earlier in the video with this shot right here. I mean, this very obviously looks like a sort of physical early prototype of what this was going to look like, which tells me they're probably pretty far in development, especially if we have something like this already out there with this look of the outside of the vehicle, most likely. And then there's a closer look of it a little bit further in. So kind of zooms in a little bit more. And then there's stuff on here that I've tried zooming in. I can't make it out. I mean, it says XYZ, which I'm assuming is, the height, width, and depth measurements of the interior maybe that they're measuring, or for this, this obviously this person sitting there, like how the person is going to sit and hang out. They look very comfortable. But yeah, super interesting imagery. I really think it speaks to very, very clearly that Tesla is going to very much show a 2-seater compact self-driving car on 8/8 on August 8th, which really talks about, okay, what is the point of Uber, especially when Tesla is deciding to come out with their own app, right? The Tesla app where you can summon your own car. How are people going to transition from hailing a ride-hail car or a taxi to a cyber cab or a self-driving vehicle that's going to cost pennies on the dollar? What does this mean for Tesla's approach for solving self-driving with only vision instead of having to buy LiDAR? What does that mean for companies like Waymo? What does this mean from the standpoint of getting approvals from jurisdictions if they're going to start, maybe they're going to start getting these things out on the roads as early as the end of next year, or even this year potentially, depending on how quickly they can move along the development process. They have a brand new version that dropped with the employees with 12.4, which we talked about last week, which is going to remove the nag from the steering wheel. So there's clear improvements. So obviously Tesla is putting so much time and effort into communicating in a very sort of passive, roundabout way to investors and fans and everybody else that, hey, this is happening. This is very, very much happening. It's been something that Elon Musk has been hyping for a while, for like 8 years. But now it seems like all the pieces are coming into place where Tesla is going to be able to release actually like something that's actually usable, where it's a self-driving vehicle, a self-driving fleet for customers to use. It's a landmark. It's a huge deal for Tesla, the company, because this is something that they've been investing in and hoping to get out into the world for a really long time. And if they're successful in doing so, I think that's going to give them a pretty huge advantage, because the approach they're taking in developing that self-driving approach, which is using an AI brain and 8 cameras around the car and investing billions of dollars into compute hardware and inference hardware in the car that they designed themselves, which in theory has very tight integration between the hardware and the software, so it's super efficient. Think about how efficient Apple phones are versus Android phones. Think of it that way, but for self-driving cars, and the fact that Tesla is going to spend $10 billion this year in R&D for AI and CapEx and sort of investing in the compute hardware, while other car companies doing that. It's just everything's starting to fall into place. I don't want this to be any investment or financial advice, but it does seem like Tesla is starting to execute truly on some of the self-driving hopes they have. But ultimately, it comes down to them actually getting a solution out there that people can use, that people can pay for, and then it will take them from point A to point B in a self-driving manner. They're still not there yet. Waymo has done that for a few years. Now the hope, I think, with Tesla is, hey, we have it ready. We just need a few more months. We're going to get it out there. This is what it's going to look like. Here's a teaser. Come back on 8/8. We'll show you the whole shebang. And then maybe by the end of this year or next year, they're going to start doing rides. So Super interesting, fascinating stuff. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And then for my next video, I'm going to talk in depth about the vote itself related to Elon Musk's comp plan. I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot to say. I've hinted at it in some videos previously, but I'll save that for a separate video because, yeah, I think there's a lot involved there. So if you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, link in the descriptions below, and we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.